Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 16. I was about to say 15. Episode 16, which means we've been doing this for 4 months now. So we should all be proud of ourselves and pat ourselves a little bit on the back. We've only got 2 weeks left in the season. Now we are going to continue doing content throughout the summer with things like transfers and preseason and stuff. But while we're in this moment of this end to this epic season, we should just embrace it for what it is. My name's Azaz, and I have Jake from the regular Motley crew. Dan might pop in. He said he may just pop in. So let's see what that is all about. But without further ado, I would love to welcome a really warm OLSC Liverpool Toronto show welcome to Liverpool Toronto legend, and you know we don't use that term lightly. Donna, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Ambassador and worldwide ambassador. Worldwide.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Worldwide ambassador for Toronto. Worldwide ambassador for LFC ladies. Worldwide ambassador just overall. So we're really excited to have you. Now, I know you've seen a few episodes, Donna, so we're just going to get into you for the next little while because we want to know about. Now I know the story, so I'm excited that everyone else gets to hear it as well. But we want to know about, firstly, what made you become such a diehard Liverpool fan, and then how you found the Liverpool Toronto club as well. So let's start with the origin story, we've been calling it, of you becoming a Liverpool fan. And I know this starts back home in Jamaica for you, right?
Actually, no.
Okay.
No. So, by the way, thank you guys so much for having me on, and thank you for the accolades. It's like, okay, you guys are putting me up there too much. But anyway, so I started when I lived in England in the 80s, to be exact, around 1985. I was born in Jamaica, and then I came to Toronto at an early age. And then I went to live in the UK in the late 80s. Okay. So while I was there, I was watching the show called Brookside, and I loved the Scouser accent. And I'm not sure if you're familiar, you're both from the UK, you probably heard of Brookside. Yeah. So it was a show that was filmed on Merseyside. So I started watching Brookside, and I fell in love with the Scouser accent. At first, I didn't understand a word they were saying, but as I watched it more and more, I got into it, and I loved it so much that I even, took a few trips to Liverpool. And back then in the 80s, Liverpool is very different now compared to what it was in the 80s. I definitely love it much more now. And of course, you guys know that I'm always there. So that was my love for Liverpool, the city. Now, for my love for the club, John Barnes, big up to John Barnes, because had it not been for him, I wouldn't have been a diehard supporter that I am today. So thank you to John Barnes. And John Barnes was at Watford, and Kenny Dalglish, when he was at Liverpool as a manager, he signed John Barnes in 1987, and the summer of 1987. And because we have the history of being Jamaican, he went to England when he was younger, like myself, and I went to Canada. But so that's the history behind me becoming a Liverpool supporter, and of course, because of John Barnes. So when he signed for Liverpool, of course, I'm going to be a Liverpool supporter. I already started liking the city, and then I became so addicted to, Liverpool Football Club. And as you know, he was such a great footballer. He did amazingly well, playing for Liverpool, and it was just world class, right? And so, of course, I knew a lot about football growing up in Jamaica because it was such a big thing there, football, Aston Villa back in the day, Crystal Palace and all that. So, of course, I knew a lot about it. And so it was already in my blood, right? So, and because of John Barnes, I started supporting Liverpool, and I never looked back. Even after he left after 10 years with the club, I decided that's where I want to be, and just became a diehard fan. So
amazing.
And then I finally met John Barnes, my idol, after all these years. So I never actually saw him play live. Because I didn't start going to the games until 2005, because it was harder back then to get tickets. to go to Liverpool. And so what I used to do was through hospitality, through the club. And back then, Thomas Cook was, had hospitality.
Official partner, yeah.
Yeah, of course, it was a lot of money. I mean, it's just crazy that I spent, but because I'm a diehard fan and I wanted to see the games, and that's how I started. But yeah, and so when John Barnes left, I was gutted that he was leaving Liverpool, but I knew that was my home and that's where I wanted to be.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that story. So a couple of points. Firstly, as three people who adore John Barnes, he was so underrated in the pantheons of greatness. He played at the same time as Paul Gascoigne, and in 38 weeks of the season, which is the regular season, he was infinitely better than Paul Gascoigne. The only difference was Gazza was given that status on the England team, and John Barnes, for reasons we probably won't get into right now, was never appreciated and never given that to be the guy for England. So major faux pas on the late 80s, early 90s England team, number one. Number two, I was reading a biography recently. I cannot remember whose it was, but it wasn't Barnesi's himself. And John Barnes was the player who introduced Jamaican food to the Liverpool team. So when they were going on these like long bus rides, they always used to get fish and chips. And then John Barnes started getting Jamaican food from a place, from a store in Liverpool, like a takeout in Liverpool called Kwame's. And story means something to me because my friend is called Kwame. And one day he brought on like jerk chicken, rice and peas onto the bus, and all the Liverpool players were like, "What is that? What you're eating?" He let them all try it, and then the next time they were like, "We're not getting fish and chips. We're going to get Jamaican food." So that started becoming a tradition. And Liverpool is so unbelievably multicultural as well. Like, people don't realize that because it's such a port city. Obviously, there is other things there. Like, I'm sure all cities and countries have, but like, it's very welcoming in that respect as well. So such a great story. So let's flip to how you found Liverpool Toronto then, because obviously you've been coming to the OLSC Toronto club for a while too, right?
Yeah, but I just want to quickly just finish on John Barnes. So after all these years, so I never actually saw him play live, as I said before, but so I did have the chance to bring him here. I was working at a while back with 5 times. 5 times, of course, he's no longer there. But so 5 times I kept talking to them and I said, I need to bring John Barnes here to Toronto. And they kept saying, will he sell? Will he sell? I go, of course he'll sell. He goes, not to you, but what about other people, right? Because they knew I was a huge John Barnes fan, because I've been on their case for years to get John Barnes to come to Toronto. And so they said, well, will he sell more than Jamie Carragher? Because Jamie Carragher had been here before. And I said, of course he will. Don't worry, I'll make it happen, right? In the end, I did get him here, and I met my idol in 2018, March 2nd, 2018. I'll never forget that day. Yeah. I was so excited. I was nervous, and I started crying when I saw him walking up the stairs at Scallywags. And of course, he knew all about me before he even got there. And he goes, and when he first saw me, just come here. And all he said, because I wasn't sure how to embrace him. And he just said, come here and give me a big hug. And John Barnes gave me a big bear hug. And I was just like, oh my God. And of course I was crying, and he's like wiping my tears. He's like, don't cry. It's all good, and just break the ice. And it was just amazing. But that goes to show you the kind of person that he is. It just makes you feel so welcome all the time, and I've been lucky that I've met him on a couple of occasions, actually one other time in Liverpool, and it was so much fun. Beautiful. So how I got to I went to Scally's back in 2014, and when I got to Scally's, I think it was in February of 2014. I actually was in Loblaws that day, because what I do is I work around Liverpool's schedule. When Liverpool is playing, I'm not working, right?
We all do.
Doctor's appointment,
Dr. Club. It's Dr. Club.
There you go, Jake, right? You've been there, right? So that day before the match, I think it was a midweek game, and we're playing Fulham. And I was in Loblaws getting my my dinner ready, and because I knew the game was coming on and I had to be at home to watch the game. So a gentleman saw me with my Liverpool jacket and he says, do you know, are you watching it at Scully's today? And I said, no, I'm watching at home. I said, Scully's is a menu bar. He goes, not anymore. It's a Liverpool bar now. I go, really? So of course, I went home, put my stuff down. I went to Scallywags, did not know anyone. I got there really early. I sat down and I watched the game and then I left. So on the Saturday or Sunday, there was a big game on. It was, I went with my sister to Scallywags that first time, And so on the Sunday now, it was a massive game. I think it was Arsenal that was playing. And so I walked in there not knowing that the bar was so packed. I walked in there and I just made a U-turn and went straight back out. And I called my sister and I go, oh my God, the bar's packed. It's different from midweek. And she said, well, get back in there and go. So I thought, oh no, but there's so many people. And then finally I went in, pulled up the courage. I went straight to the bar and I sat there at the very last seat where, you know how Scally's is, where the bartender goes, and I just sat at the seat. And I had no idea that, so for that became my seat for throughout the season, till the end of the season. And so that was in 2014. And at the beginning of the season, 2014-2015 season, I was outside standing in line waiting to go in, and I met Jake. And I said to Jake, you remind me of Emery Chan, because we had just signed Emery Chan. And he laughed, there's this big guy and it was like, oh, you look like, I'm looking up to him and you look like Emery Chan. And he started laughing. But anyhow, so when I started going to Scully's, I knew no one for at least, I used to see Jake and I used to see all the others, but no one spoke to me. I didn't speak. I just sat at the bar by myself. I had a drink and then I would leave. So when the new season started, I decided that I'm going to change things around. I'm going to be the person that I am. I started talking to people, everyone that I see on my own. I wanted to mingle, get to know people, and anyone that I was seeing sitting on their own. I always said, are you here on your own? And started striking up a conversation. Just to give you an example, I met Munish and Jish. I met Mo and his dad when he first came there as well. This guy named Robert. Jake knows Robert. I met Tyler. And so these are just some of the names. Peter, even Adam from Barrie, I met during a Champions League game. And so I became Scallywags was my home away from home. And, Scallywags was like Anfield, to be honest. I enjoyed going there every match day. I was there every time, whether it's 7:30 kickoff or 12:30 kickoff, I'm always there. So I just, I missed that place somehow.
Yeah, great times though. It was great times.
Yeah.
For so many reasons. One being that John Barnes event, I will never forget. I will never forget that. I was so close to him because of you. I got all the access. It was just phenomenal for me because he was one of the reasons as well, being a colored player coming to Liverpool as well. Another one, which was great as well. And that's just from that level. He was just a skillful and is a good guy as well. It was such a great night.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was a pleasure meeting you at LFC Toronto at Scallywags, which we do miss. And Jeff, you did a great job with that.
He did, did. I actually look at some videos sometimes, and I even saw Azaz in a few videos, and I told you that I saw you, right?
You did, yeah.
So you were coming there, sitting behind Jake and Ryan, and I didn't even know you then until just now I started getting to know you.
Yeah, so I moved to Toronto in 2010, and I went a fair few times at the start. And then I started working for a travel company and was out of town a lot. So I just happened to be in town for the 5 times event with Carragher and Fowler, Haman and McAteer. But then I remember I was in Vancouver for the John Barnes one, and I was devastated. But just the way it was, I was so committed to my work as well. It was definitely Liverpool still on top, but Liverpool and work, I was so into that job as well that it was one of those where I remember trying to change it. And I remember saying to a few people, oh my God, because he's also the reason one of the big reasons I became a Liverpool fan, for the same reason Jake said. I think I told you this at the Christmas party, Donna. Like, for me, I was in a school where I was the only, or one of the very few people that was BIPOC, or like recognized as BIPOC. So to me, John Barnes and Ruud Gullit were the two players who I really clung to, because back then in the that era, growing up in the UK, like, kids could be pretty nasty, and let me know many times that I shouldn't be an England fan, that I wasn't English, etc. So to me, like, John Barnes and Ruud Gullit were like, okay, well, they don't look like everybody either. I'm not saying they necessarily like look like me, but I was like, I connect with them. I feel what they're all about as well. So they'll always be heroes to me, because I remember what they represented to me. They used to give me courage and strength. So much of me becoming a Liverpool fan was like rebellion against like family and just like going against the grain. But so much of it as well was John Barnes, because he just let me, like, he almost like gave me a reason to hold on to something as well in those times. And I was very young at the time, so I felt like we all have a kinship with him. I'm devastated now to miss that event. But yeah, it was really nice, Donna, a couple of weeks ago. You're like, oh my God, I was going through some videos and I noticed you on there as well. And like, yeah. I feel like it's one of those where our stories are still unwritten at the moment. Like, Scallywags was amazing, and then this season's been amazing, but it will just continue to evolve, and like, really excited to share all this with you all. Actually.
Yeah, sure.
It was funny. I just want to finish on John Barnes there with Scallywags. As I remember the next day, the owner of Scallywags, Jeff's sister Stephanie, I think it was Jake, she told me that because of that event, they've never had that many, they've never done so well before until John Barnes. And he actually wasn't even supposed to be at that venue. It should have been on the Danforth. And we switched it at last minute with 5 times. And I said, well, let's do it at Scally's, and many people thought at first that they didn't register, and then they just showed up. So we were at full capacity, and it was upstairs and downstairs, right, Jake? It was just, but John Warren is such a wonderful person. He was just meeting everybody, he didn't care about the security guard. He just said, no, bring them in. I want to, sharing beers with people, drinking wine with me and Jake. It was amazing. It was just so amazing. And, but also too, I did help 5 times bring Didi Hammond and Robbie Fowler and Jason McAteer here. So I was one of those people that helped them as well. So that was so much fun too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the night I met Jake, actually.
Oh, right.
That's the first time I met Jake,
At that event?
Yeah, we were.
That event?
We were shit-faced.
Oh, right.
And I was like, literally, I turned around and Azaz was at the next table.
Oh,
and I was literally begging him to come to Scallywags. I'm like, it's different. You got a lot of cool people. Everyone's multicultural. Everyone's together. It's a good vibe. And,
until COVID, it just wasn't possible. Like the videos you had seen. You had seen me in. Donna was like, again, I used to be away 2 weeks a month. That was just my job. So like the odd time a game would be on, like if I could make it, like 2018 Champions League run, I went a few times. Like I went to Roma, Man City.
Big wins. But then, big wins.
Yeah. So that almost like got me back into it. And then as soon as COVID hit, I was like, you know what? I joined actually like getting involved in like the virtual chats and stuff as well. And then as soon as like we were able to have like the connection again, I was like, I'm going all in on this. So, and yeah, it's been beautiful. Okay, so let's get into some football, because for once on this show, we actually have like a game that didn't go our way to talk about. Like I said at the start, it's episode 16. Pretty much for 16 weeks, other than Inter, where we still went through anyway, we've just been talking about wins and wins and wins. But we had a frustrating game against Tottenham. So I'm just going to start off with Jake. Tell me, like, thoughts on the game, how it went.
So, I do like that coach. Coach is very good. I like Conte. He's a good coach. He was a great player, and he's done very well. He's got good tactics. He's got good, formation, whatever you want to call it. Spurs do have some decent players, but they're just whatever. They're not a team. I can't believe in the standings wise now, having their position in place against Arsenal, needing the win, that they set up and they just parked the bus.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Like, okay, you know what? Like, I can't remember a Liverpool time where we did something like that to that degree where it was something was meant something, a position, a qualification, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And you only have several games left to do that work, and you have the opportunity, but you are very passive in that process, and you're just like, wait a minute. Am I supposed to attack? What am I supposed to do? And what was their motives? Just to get 1 point? It didn't do them any good. I don't understand why they would put themselves in that position. You know, you have the opportunity, you give it your all. Isn't that the game? Like, I don't understand. And what kind of fan is that? Like, what kind of fan is that when your team has that mentality, whereas they look like they're lackluster? I mean, it was good for us to a certain degree, but lackluster, and they didn't want to do anything. So it was hard for us to break them down, but I was really pissed off at that premise, because any team that actually plays football against us, that's when we really, really click on different levels, right? We pick them apart and so on and so forth. But that tactically, I was like, what are you doing? Like, do you not care for your, and then the other thing as well is like, okay, positional places, how much money is at stake? Just financially speaking is at stake to move up the table and to get levels of qualification. It just literally blew my mind. I can't believe that.
See, before I got to Donna, I'm just going to say the same thing. Like, I didn't realize they needed the win that much, because I don't know, for some reason, I just wasn't looking at, obviously our eyes are on us at the moment. And it missed me that, like, it was such a game they had to win. They had to win that game, because if tomorrow Arsenal and Tottenham draw, like, it's pretty much done, because it's 4 points with 6 left to play for. So if they had beaten us on Saturday, like, if they'd set up to win the game, I will never understand it. And now, as I said today, I do not want them to qualify for the Champions League, because it's just like, you know what? You want to come with that mentality. And they played well under the circumstances. But, like, there was jeopardy in the game for them. I didn't realize that. I don't know, missed that altogether. Donna, how do you feel about not just the way they set up, but tell us as well, like, do you think that was a fatal blow to us? Like, where's your head at right now?
Well, first of all, Conte was pulling a Mourinho, parking the bus and all that. So it was really hard for guys. Of course, there was a big dent in that, title race, especially after today's results. And again, on, I think, Newcastle, I think they played on Sunday. So but you know what? Tomorrow, I just hope that Arsenal wins and shows them, I just give it to them, and that they don't qualify for top 4, because that wasn't the way to go. But it just hurts, and I'm hurting today a little bit, because you almost know that,
Yeah. Well, just talking about your heroes we were before, I know another one of your heroes is Sadio Mane. And,
my God.
He showed up again yesterday with that late winner. Tell us about that Villa game, Donna. Like, what a grind that was.
That was so stressful. I mean, just watching it, but first of all, that was offside. And of course, I was so upset that they allowed that to play on, and of course, and capitalize on that. And so it was a very frustrating game. The referee, he was just like, I don't know what was his problem yesterday. He was just not having it, and calling all these out was not on. And then, of course, luckily we fought back and we scored right away 3 minutes later. But my goodness, that Mane goal and the setup, first of all, by Diaz to Mane, and oh my goodness. You know what? Mane is one of my favorite players at Liverpool. He's so underappreciated, and a lot of people, I know he's living under Salah's shadow, or in Salah's shadow, but he's such a phenomenal player, and a lot of people, he doesn't get the respect that he should get, And I just love him, love watching him play. He works so hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, in this number 9 role since Diaz came in, he's just been reborn. Like, arguably, like Mo's not on his best form right now. Before the new year, I think it was like 8 games or something Mane hadn't scored and stuff. And cool, like, you're allowed those stretches, like Mo's allowed that now. But like, since the AFCON and since Diaz came in, Mane's form has been incredible, particularly in that number 9 role. Like, it's almost like he's got a new lease of life
Yeah.
with this new position, right? He doesn't need to worry about what's happening on the left. Diaz can take care of that. And man is just so awkward to mark as well, right? But yeah, did you see, Donna, anything in Villa that might trouble Man City on the last day of the season? Anything like encouraging? I know City may have lost another defender today.
Well, Watkins is good, right? I think they're what's his name?
Ings and Watkins.
Ings, not Ings.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that Ings and Coutinho can step up and do something, former Liverpool player, and just put a dent, in their celebrations. But everyone's talking about that it's going to be over on Sunday. It's not going to be over on Sunday. It may go down to the final day. You never know, right? So Aston Villa, on a good day, they're really good. And they are so organized, and Stevie G, he's got them playing really well football. And I think that you never know on the last day it could come down to that. And I still believe, as a Liverpool supporter and coming from the 2005 Champions League, coming back from behind, even the Barca game, I still believe that we have a chance. And I'm never going to say it's over until it's really over. So.
Jake, thoughts on Fabinho? So apparently he's in a race against time now. That's a big thing.
Yeah. I heard about the slight hamstring pull. I think that's what they're talking about it. And so he's done for the games until that point. So he's been our rock in the defense. On and off, fleeting moments. He's had a couple of gaps, but he's been super solid on every level, contributing to some offensive displays as well, good goals here and there.
Yeah.
But he just right, the one through the wickets the other day, which was a great one, right? But he just has this kind of, he allows peace in the defense, essentially, right? He breaks up the plays, he tackles, he gets the foot in. He's a big guy, gangly, and so he does that breakup. And so it allows the offensive players to be offensive players. And they're all playing defense, and that's a Klopp way, which I understood. But because you have that kind of that point of reference with Fabinho, he keeps the whole world safe, if I can say that, right? He's kind of one of our gladiators. So as a result of that, I think that they're going to put, I would imagine Hendo will take that space, that role. Which is not a bad, there's not really a dip from that standpoint, different kind of players, but nevertheless. So I think that is, but it is, I'm worried from the last, and the thing is that I want him, if he can be healthy, great, that's fantastic, he's in. But I'm hoping that it's not like a 60% dial, and like, as a player, you're injured, you're 60%, you want to play in the Champions League final, or you're 100% and you play in the Champions League final, right? I just don't want it to be as like he gets an injury on that day, or he tries and, it's his head, whatever the case is. But I'm hoping for a fully fit Fab at the end of for that last game for sure.
So just turning our attention to Saturday, because in our blessed season, like we had got it today and after Saturday and how it's shaking up, but we have a bit of a pick-me-up on Saturday, just the small matter of an FA Cup final, just the average weekend in May for Liverpool and Anfield South. Donna, who would you play in midfield? And Jake just said Henderson would be in the sixth. Then are you going to go Keita and Thiago, or any other thoughts? Does Millie come in with the experience? Like, what are you thinking?
You know what? We're going to miss Fab for sure. We're going to miss him. It's just a blow to us at this stage in the season. And it's just unfortunate because even the last night, the Carabao Cup, Thiago had a knock, right? So he didn't get to play at all in the Carabao Cup. And that was pretty hard as well for him. But I think that when Hendo came on yesterday, was it yesterday? Yesterday, he did a really good job. So I definitely think Klopp is going to go with Thiago and Keita and of course Hendo. I think Millie would come on after, but not starting, I don't think.
Interesting.
Is Millie the first midfielder to come off the bench? You have Millie or you have Jones. Ox is like way down the pecking order.
Even Elliot too, because remember Elliot actually came on in the Carabao Cup final, but he's not been seen for a while now as well. So I think Millie would be the first change at this point. And we also have to think about Southampton as well, assuming, let's see how Saturday goes. But if there's a moment in time on Saturday where, like, touch wood, it doesn't go to penalties or extra time. So if it's going to be one in the regular time. So what we thinking?
You think that you're thinking that maybe Millie would start over Keita?
I don't think so. I think it will be Hendo, Thiago, and Keita. But I do think that Millie can play a role in this because he played really well against Newcastle a couple of weeks ago.
If he plays at that level of that energy and came because he was man of the match, then I would take him in a heartbeat for that.
He's a beast, though. He's a beast.
Because the other players drove off of that intensity. They picked up their levels because he was running around like a chicken with his head cut off all over the place. Yeah. And he's got bounds of energy, right? So that if it's that guy and that Millie, in a heartbeat I would take him over Keita.
So we obviously know who the goalie, the fullbacks, and Virgil will play. Are we going Matip or Konate? Thoughts?
I think he has to be Matip.
Agreed. I agree.
I think he has to be.
I think he has to be Matip.
Yeah.
But because Konate was the cup guy, right? Does he play the cup guy? Does he have the loyalty to the cup guy, or is the loyalty over now? And right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't Kelleher. Kelleher didn't play in the cup. It was
he wasn't the FA Cup. He unlike Man City, he actually never declared an FA Cup goalkeeper, which is why Ali could play. Whereas that's why the reserve goalie played for Man City in the semi-final. I agree with Donna. Like, to me, it's Matip. I feel I never criticize Jurgen. Like, you'll see me in the Liverpool group going like, it's okay, Jurgen's right. Like, he's allowed to make the decision. But like, I personally would have played Matip against Tottenham just because he's so calm, he's so collected. He was phenomenal yesterday. Like, like even the goal aside, like he's just he's something else. Okay, so let's talk about the attack then. Are we going with our new front three, or like Mo not being in form? Like, is that a factor? Like, what you thinking, Jake? Thoughts?
I think you have to. The new top three is it with Bobby and Jota on the bench. I think Bobby's fit now or on the verge.
He is.
So those two on the bench as secondary. If something goes wrong, God forbid, that you need to shift that premise out. I think in the given form and the positional play of Mane being that 9 now, which I love because, he's such a strong man, a physically strong man who can hold the ball. And you're right, he's so awkward to defend because in a given step, like in a given moment, he's gone. Like, he's lightning quick, right? And he can make the moves with his back against the defender or forward. So that's fantastic. And Diaz now, with that whole relationship between Mane and Diaz from that standpoint, is fantastic. And Mo's always drawing two defenders, right? So I think from that standpoint, he's undroppable from there. But I think that's what I think he's going to play. But I would be fine with any of them. I would be fine with, really, though.
So who did you say, Jake? Like, who did you say?
I said Diaz, Mane, and Salah.
Oh yeah, it has to be. I think Jota is going to be on the bench, and definitely Diaz has to start that game over Jota, I think. And so I agree with that one for sure. I mean, Diaz, my goodness, what a player he is turning out to be, right? And he's so phenomenal. I just love watching his style of play, how he is with the ball, and oh my goodness, his movement. Oh my God, I think it was the Derby game where he did that.
Oh,
that was sexy. Ball, Oh man, that was
sexy. Yeah.
That
very
was
sexy. Very sexy.
I just love, even yesterday, that pass to Mane, and oh my God, and the goal, just amazing.
Yeah, I'm going with the same three as well. My only inkling why I would ever think anything different is if we get to a point where we can bring Diaz on after 60, it's over. Like, I would start him because Mo's obviously not at his best. Mane is playing number 9, so that's the moot point. Jota's off form compared to earlier in the season. And we always have to give credit. Like, there's different times in the season where Mo and Jota have carried us as well. So, like, this is all part of having a front 5, I guess. Like, different people step up at different times. So no beef with them, but they're not the informed players. Clearly, Diaz and Mane are the informed players. But if we ever got to a point where in a final or something, we could bring Diaz off the bench after 60 and he just gets to run for 30 minutes rather than 90, like that he would be unplayable. Like, because he's at that age as well, right? Where it's just like he's so wily and gangly and like so tough and like, yeah. So that's our team for the final. Thoughts on the score?
Well, he did well when he came on for the Derby game, right? Game changer.
He did. And Villarreal.
Exactly, right? So those are, But
Yeah.
what a bench though. I mean, to have like, I remember back in when Rafa left and we had Roy or we had Kenny Dalglish in last 10, we had these guys, like we didn't have a bench, you know, and now we're like, oh, we're looking, oh my goodness, we have a bench. And you know, it's so amazing. Like we've come a long way. And I love this team. Long way. There are days we used to watch Liverpool and you just like, oh my God, when,
like,
you know, and
shit.
right. You see all these other clubs winning stuff and we're not going anywhere. And Roy bringing in Konchesky and Joe Cole.
Jokanovic, Joe Cole.
Yeah, right. Morales was okay, you know, until he left for Chelsea, whatever. But then, you know, even back in the day, Lucas Leiva, he wasn't even all that great to begin with. I remember him coming on during a Derby game and he got sent off right away. You know? So like Joe, we had to rely on Joe Allen. You remember all that? And it was just crazy. It's crazy.
But from a Chelsea perspective, right? Like I think that they have. I think one of the key drivers is I would imagine Conte plays in the middle with Jorginho and I guess their Mason Mount. I don't know if he's their top three or if he plays the mid from that standpoint, or is it Kovacic maybe?
I think Kovacic has had a couple of good games against us. That might get him the nod. But
Conte out of those ones would be my like point of reference where we'd need to stop that movement. I don't really care about Jorginho. Like Kovacic, he's on and off from that standpoint, can be stopped, but that would be my key person from the midfield perspective. And what up front, I don't know, he'll put the German Havertz, right? Havertz.
Yeah. Although like we can smile, but Lukaku has found some form as well. He's actually scored 4 goals in 2 games or something like that. So just worth watching. And nothing that Virgil and Matip or Konate can't handle, but still, you know, he was awful in that Carabao Cup final, right? So he's still a decent player as well. But I think Chelsea have kind of gone off the boil a little bit themselves. They had a win today against Leeds, but who doesn't win against Leeds, right? Like, Leeds might be going down, actually.
Yeah, it's so sad.
They're close. They're very close.
Yeah. Well, it's basically Burnley have got 3 games and Leeds have got 2 games left. As it stands, it's equal. Leeds have got a far worse goal difference. So basically, they either all get 0. It's possible that neither of them pick up a point now. But if they don't get more points now than Burnley in the last games of the season, they're down, which I would never have predicted at the start of the season.
It's true. Because if Leeds lose the next game, that's it. They're actually relegated. So then now it's going to be up to Everton and I think Burnley fighting for it. You know, so it's a shame because I love Leeds. I love the way they were playing at the beginning, you know, and even that opener game with us a couple of years ago, I think. And it's just like, I was actually scared for playing against Leeds, but it's just a shame watching them suffer like that and going down possibly.
Yeah, they've just run out of legs at the wrong time. And the one thing I would say about Leeds is similar to us last season. They have been crippled by injuries. Like it's been really sad to see that. Bamford and Phillips has been out for most of the season. Most of their players have had time on the sidelines. But I mean, at this point, I think they've had 1 win in 5. Whereas like Burnley and Everton have strung a couple of wins together here and there. And like suddenly they're in the relegation zone. Okay, Jake, take us home with one more shout out about Saturday. Tell us, anybody watching.
So Saturday we anticipate several hundred people to come to our events. So with that said, make sure that you arrive early if you want to be with the audience. It is a fantastic experience. You've seen some of the clips on YouTube and or Instagram, and you have no idea until you come to the parties and the functions, to be with people from your own church, basically the Liverpool church, essentially loving, singing, chanting, screaming. There's lots of things, beers flying around, there's things. It's a great experience as a Liverpool fan. And I would say that we have one of the greatest ambiances and cultural dynamic from any club in the entire world. Once you come in, it's infectious, and you'll be joining the chanting and singing, and it's going to be a fantastic experience. So please do arrive early. Members come in early. Members come in an hour, 2 hours early, basically. And so essentially you have entrance in there, and then non-members are queued up as well. And if there's capacity, they can come in. And so it's going to be a memorable experience. So please do join us, but arrive early.
Yeah, and we will have a few people coming up and down the line as well, just making sure that everyone is behaving, because we do want this to be a memorable experience for our members as well. So arrive early. At least the weather gods have shone on us. It's supposed to be a beautiful day on Saturday. It's going to be a great ambience. Just the only thing worth remembering as well is this will not be at Elephant and Castle this time. So it's the Madison for Toronto City Centre downtown, and then if you're in the west, it is Sly Fox. So just worth remembering that. Donna, are you coming down?
I will be there. I actually have a christening on that day. And I'm like, what? Again, priorities, right? And Liverpool comes first takes precedent over anything else. So I'll be there.
Donna, what do you think the score is going to be?
Oh my goodness, I don't do predictions.
Come on, you got to do a prediction.
I don't do predictions.
What's the score? What's the score?
I don't want to jinx anything.
I think it's going to be 2-1 us.
Yeah?
That's what I think. I think it's going to be 2-1.
I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool, just for a bit of fun.
I just want us to win. That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's it now, right? Like, I feel regardless of what's happened, if we can get this treble even, what a season that is as well. And I was just joking around. I was just bantering with some Man City fans today, being like, you know what? Even if you win the league, you get 3 people out for the parade. We'll win the Champions League the week later and have millions, and we'll steal the show again, just like we did in 2019. So, we all know which one Man City wanted this year. So, we're
all plastic anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be an experience. You know what? I will say this though, from the last few years, and we're just attesting to that to a certain degree, where you were fighting to get into the top 4 qualification. And to be in the position we are in right now, to have won a cup already, to be in the other finals, and to be at neck and neck at the Prem with this stage, as the Liverpool fan, has never been the best until this moment. To be in all these competitions, enjoying this, every single fan around the world is envious and jealous of all the Liverpool community, which is fantastic.
Even Pep is jealous of us.
Rent-free. We're rent-free.
Exactly.
Rent-free.
I love it. I love the way he just goes on.
All day, every day. He even went on the day that the whole Haaland thing broke. He's still talking about Liverpool. Like, really? Awesome. Well, thanks. That brings us to the end. Another great show. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for being on, Donna. I'm sure you'll be back again in the summer, particularly when we start to talk a little bit about transfers and just get excited again. But as for today, thanks for joining us in such a big week. Jake, thank you as always as well. And hope to see most of y'all. Sorry?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys, because you guys are doing such a phenomenal job. And I just, I'm going to try and get out more often come next season to the matches. And it's just like, anyone coming down on Saturday, it's just, you feel so welcome, because you guys make everyone feel so welcome. And you do such a great job. And we just love the atmosphere, love being around you guys. And nothing like it when Liverpool wins and we're celebrating, especially me and my girl Evie got that Sambuca going on. So thank you guys for everything, and I'll see you on Saturday. Thank you.
Fantastic.
See you guys. Bye.
All right, cheers. Bye for now.